Hi, everyone. Janelle here. Thank you for joining us for Revision, the virtual AFA Canada's virtual forum. And today, thank you, we have Lynne Spence, the beautiful, wonderful Lynne Spence, style expert and retail expert joining us again. Lynne, you're becoming a regular collaborator with AFA Canada. Thank you.
I feel very honored to be part of this. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, we love having you. And of course, Lynne, your voice as far as fashion and dressing women is very well known in the Canadian market. And you also, are very well in tuned with what's happening at retail. And obviously, we all know the retail world has changed drastically over the last few months. And the pandemic has affected how retail is done and how consumers are thinking about it. Tell us what you've noticed in the retail world and how things have changed over the past 6 months.
First of all, I think a lot of consumers have been shopping online. And if they didn't do it before the pandemic hit, they've been doing it for the last 6 months. And the reason why they do that is that they get discounts and they have so much choice. It's very convenient. They are able to shop a lot of different things very, very quickly. It's a solution. I think that a lot of customers though they're divided into different categories. Mm-hmm. There's a customer that's a loyal shopper. They've always been a brick and mortar loyal shopper. And they continue, like the moment that they could go back into the store, they were there. They're not necessarily the best customer as far as buying something, but they come in and they look around and they do. It's not that they browse, but they want to see if there's something new, something that you brought in. And then there's the customer that is very intentional. They go in, they get what they want because they already know what it is, and they come out again. And then there is the customer that is, I'm going to say, not necessarily looking for the best price, but they're certainly looking they want to solve a solution. They want to serve a purpose. It's like they come in and they want, they don't even know if you've got it or not. They come in and they say, do you have a downfill jacket? It needs to be waterproof. I'm going to be going really far up north, or I need walking shoes. So you've got one that already knows what you have and somebody who doesn't know what you have. You have to be prepared for both of those. And then there's the customer that's the high-end shopper. Price is not really something that affects them at all. It is more about, I'm a thoughtful shopper in the sense that I don't jump on everything I think about when I think about maybe a new collection has come into my favorite designer store, or I've always wanted that secondhand Porsche, or that premium Porsche, or that diamond tennis bracelet, or whatever, like they've never bought before, which is bizarre. They say, what am I waiting for? What is the point of waiting? I may as well get it now and enjoy it. And they're not even thinking about, am I going to wear it? It's the ownership of it, which I find really interesting also. I think that's just, it's just interesting to see how many shoppers are interpreting this time of COVID in a very, very different way. But I think retailers have to be prepared like crazy to scratch the itch when you think about it,
And I think it's like what you and I had been, said the other day. I think it's about adopting COVID, right?
Oh, yes.
COVID is here to stay. Let's work around it, find a way to work with it. But COVID's also influenced some of our buying habits, how consumers are shopping, what they're buying at retail, and how retail is being done, correct?
Yes, well, you know what, I think that brick and mortar retail has to offer a number of things on the checklist. They have to offer safety. They have to offer a price that is appropriate for the customer that's coming into the store, whoever that might be. They've got to offer product that customers are really looking for now. So if you think that that cocktail wear and long gowns and stuff are necessarily what they're looking for, it might not be the top of their list anymore. They'll probably look for clothing that is, number one, is comfort. Number two, looks good, makes them feel good, and allows them to carry on their day feeling as if they're presented in a nice way. Maybe they do Zoom meetings for business. Maybe they're going into the office a couple of days a week. Maybe they're their teacher, you know, so the most important thing now is to really find out who your customer is and be able to serve them better because of that.
Let's talk just very briefly, Lynn, on what we're seeing on screen right now, and call your attention to, obviously, safety protocol. Also, what's being done at retail is also another subject that we need to touch on as well.
And we'll talk about it, you know, at great length. But I think that to see how much a retailer is willing to spend on safety, because it's going to cost you. There's no doubt about it. But, you know, so hand sanitizer and making it a personal thing, giving it to somebody, offering it to somebody, and having it available all around the store. But look at the image on the left. And a retailer has gone that far and created or had somebody create a plexiglass screen for them so that they can fit a men's suit.
Right.
So business carries on. It means that you protect your customer, your staff member. It looks professional. It looks slick. You're not putting up something that doesn't look like it's part of your store. It is. It's now a part of your store.
Correct.
Go ahead.
As a customer also, when you're stepping into the retail space, you want to see this kind of thing happening around you. It really conveys the whole safety. And I know we're going to get a little bit more into that a little bit later on. And I think, you know, I think to that point, Lynn, is everything we're going to talk about and everything that we're going to discuss today is really intertwined in an elastic ball. Correct?
You know, these big elastic balls that people have created in the office or at home or whatever, and every single one of those elastics actually has a job. More so than ever before. It's kind of like tentacles from of an octopus, or like everything reaches out. So it's social media, it's the way that you treat your staff, it's the way your staff treats your customers, it's your window, it's your how much do you do on social, like it's all of that stuff. And of course it's COVID and COVID care and the safety. So one can't really do a job without the other now.
And they're all intertwined.
They're all
right?
intertwined completely.
And I think that in a time, you know, one of the topics that we had talked about, and even more so right now, is the importance of reinvesting. We all know that it's a very difficult time. It's a challenging time. Revenues are less than what we've been accustomed to pre-COVID. But now's not the time to be pulling back, right?
I don't think it is, Janelle. I think that there's always the dollar sign. But right now, if you want people to not shop online, unless it's beneficial for you as a retailer, but if it's not, then you want to do whatever you can to, do you know what it's like going to a job interview and dressing, even if you don't have a lot of money, but dressing the best that you can, presenting yourself in the best way possible. So your store should be as well presented as it's ever been. It's as if, you know, the owner of the store is coming that day and everything has to look perfect. Well, it should look like that all the time. And that means that even with your COVID care, I believe that your signage should be professional looking, not masking tape and Scotch tape holding up handwritten signs and 8x10 signs on windows. And I think that COVID is here for a while. There is no way to get around it. So to actually allow COVID to become a part of your brand as far as your COVID safety rules. And you also, so you have, you know what, I think that you have to be cognizant of the fact that your staff has to be compensated for the fact that they are working longer hours. Maybe they're alone, their responsibilities are greater. And so if you think that, you know, somebody's calling in and saying they're sick, it might be because they have to do a second job to pay the rent, the mortgage, the kids, whatever. And so think about when your sales associate leaves, they have a life also. And they have to be protected also.
I think what I'm hearing you say is also it's very important for business owners to not only invest financially into the obvious, you know, inventory and, you called it, I loved it, COVID care instead of COVID protocol, but COVID care, but to reinvest into your business through time. Get to know your staff, get to know the challenges that they have, be empathetic towards that. But also, we talked about this a couple of days ago, education for yourself and for your staff, correct?
Probably one of the most important things, because your staff now has a new role. They now, for their customers, they become a bit of a therapist. They're a stylist. They're a salesperson, obviously. They're an ear for them. They're a safe haven for them. And if your staff isn't that way inclined because they have not needed to be, then they have to be educated. They have to know COVID care protocol. They've got to know, they've got to be ready with answers. They have to have solutions to problems. They need to be a good talker now, in the sense of ask a lot of questions. And this might all be about training. Your staff might not be the kind of staff that really is so invested in the retail moment. So you have to, it's almost like revitalizing. You know, I've said this before, we are on somewhat of an even playing field. We're all suffering sort of the same way. A lot of us are. So that means that you go in with a clean slate.
And I think because so much has changed in all of our day-to-day lives, how school for our kids is being done, how, you know, extracurricular activities, or even getting together with friends or not getting together, or even family get-togethers have all been changed. So our entire world has been flipped upside down. And I think that really has contributed to the consumer mindset to be more so open to the power of suggestion.
Oh, that's a very good point.
Right? And educating your staff, I think, Lynn, to your point, I think that your staff needs to be educated to fulfill that power of suggestion, to be able to pull things together. And you mentioned something very important, ask questions. Right? It's almost like the staff now have become somewhat of a therapist or psychologist.
What I'm saying is that I think you have to have an ear now. You've got to have your customer's ear, and you've got to be listening to their conversations. If they come in with a friend, you know, the whole idea of, can I help you with something? Are you looking for something? Most of the time, they're not. So it's, you know, it might start with a compliment. You might say, oh, I love your shoes, or whatever. And they might say, I bought them in Spain. I'm so sad because I can't travel anymore. So you hear that. You hear they travel. That means that they have money. They're not spending that money right now. They might be replacing it with other things. So, well, what are you doing for fun then? Do you hike? Are you a part of a group? And you also determine their age. And the more you ask in an authentic way, Janelle, in a way that feels as if you're truly interested in them, rather than they get the feeling that the dollar sign is always the most important thing. I think the dollar sign has to move over slightly, and other things have to kind of take their place. The sale might take a bit longer. They might come back. It depends. But you have to ensure that your customer has a really good experience in your store.
Mm-hmm. And especially at a time, Lynn, where we are limited with human contact.
Yes.
Where most of us are no longer working in a great big office filled with other people. So you're not coming across as many people in your day-to-day experience. And when you do have that human contact, that interaction is very meaningful, or should be meaningful.
Exactly.
And important, right? And you can probably tell a lot through that conversation. And as you said, draw conclusions from that. What are they doing? What makes them tick?
And I think that then your sales staff has to determine where to go with that, because you can get lost in a conversation that becomes way too personal, and all of a sudden the opportunity for sales is not really there. So I think that that your sales staff has to be smart enough to gauge when to change the channel, change the subject, and again, show interest in what's the positive. Tell me about the positive stuff. And you don't say it that way, but you will say, what are your plans for the holidays? Thanksgiving's going to be different this year. Are you going to go outside? You know what? I know for myself, I bought a heater out there, and I'm asking everybody to wear really cozy clothes. We've got some amazing hooded sweatshirts that are really kind of fashion forward. Because they told you that they're planning on a family dinner outside. So
I love it.
Questions that pertain to the possibilities. And I think that will pay off in the end.
Absolutely. I love it. Now, many will say that it's pretty obvious, as we're reading and hearing reports out there in the media, the consumer is still spending. How they're doing it and where they're doing it has changed drastically, correct?
Yeah.
And I think that when you and I were speaking a couple of days ago, I think that you gave some pretty interesting statistics as far as what are the top commodities that the Canadian consumer is shopping for these days.
Absolutely. And one of the notations that I saw that was really interesting is that I particularly was interested in Canadians, obviously, rather than a global. And Canadians were buying beer, clothing, decorating, wine in that order of priority. And that might not necessarily be the case depending on the province, but it's an average. And what I took from that is that people are looking for comfort. It's constantly about comfort, that we've been hearing it all along. I'm baking, but you see that baking, all of a sudden I've got the COVID-20 or the COVID-19. So my clothes don't fit. So when somebody says to a retailer or a sales associate, I put on a lot of weight, and they say, you look great, but I think the solution probably is a lot of stretch. There's some great pants in the store that you might love. I'm always looking at what has changed for the customer, how things are quite different. So they are spending money on clothing. It's just not the same clothing, Janelle. They're not buying suits anymore. Women are not buying jackets and dresses and blazers. They're buying something different. They still have to look polished and professional. It's just that the dress code has changed. You want to find out if your customer is still working. Are they Zoom? Are they doing everything via Zoom, or are they going into the office and all the other stuff?
Right. And I find that very interesting. And I was actually quite shocked when you were sharing those statistics with me, Lynn, because, well, first of all, wine would probably move at the top of my list. It's number 4. Beer, wine could be somewhat of the same. But to think that clothing was your number 2 biggest commodity that the consumer, that is a huge opportunity for the retail
It's
industry.
a big opportunity. That's a very
right?
big opportunity, I think. But again, we're going to continue to say this. You better have the right stuff.
Right. And we'll talk about that in what COVID wear looks like these days. And I was really excited when you and I were working together and pulling that together, because anyways, we'll get that in a little bit. Now, another interesting statistic that you shared was 62% of consumers are buying apparel online these days.
Yes.
So, and I think 30%.
Oh, this to me was amazing.
Yeah.
30% are buying shoes online, which again is a great opportunity for brick and mortar stores. And
Correct.
I think the reason for that is that people are a little bit more aware of the need for good fit, because shoes are, you know, wide, medium, narrow, 9, 9.5, 10, 10.5. So if they are buying online, often they're duplicating their purchase and they send something back.
Right. So I think that those statistics can be dissected in two ways. I think they speak to the importance of having an e-commerce site these days, because I think in a time where, and you know, I hope this will not be the case, but if we're facing potentially, you know, shutting down again, the consumer's going to divert to what they're familiar with, what they know. And if they've had that positive experience in your store and they have a good idea of how you fulfill those needs for them, they will immediately divert to your website with just maybe a little nudge from social media. And we'll talk about how everything rolls into one big ball in a little bit. But to then look at the fact that only 30% of consumers are purchasing footwear online. To your point, Lynne, that's a huge opportunity for brick and mortar retail, because as we know, footwear is much more finicky, correct? To fit, and this is part, AFA Canada services not only footwear, but apparel as well, and accessory suppliers and retailers. But you know, footwear, with having so many different multiple sizes, some people's feet are wider, more narrow. So it is a huge opportunity for brick and mortar, as you'd mentioned.
It's also a great opportunity because people all of a sudden who wore high heels and kitten heels, and all of a sudden are saying, I need practical shoes that look really good. I put some weight on. I need to walk more. I'm exercising more. We're going to somewhere. I'm even going to a wedding, but I need a pair of shoes that are flatter. Can you help me with that? So take advantage of that. So dress up, dress down, but shoes that fill the bill. And clothing is an interesting divide, because it's sort of like women are 42 and men are 34, whatever it is. I think I gave you those stats, but it still means that 60% of women are still shopping in brick and mortar stores. So again,
that's right.
Know what, and that we'll talk about a little bit later on, because I think that that's probably one of the most important things. But something that is so important that you said is that if things shut down, I think that retailers, particularly independent retailers, better take advantage of this time and get on social media. And we're going to talk about that, because social media is going to be your best buddy if that happens, but even now, so that they get used to you.
Correct. Now in speaking about potentially what could happen again, let's talk about what's being done. And this is more kind of from an operational standpoint, what's being done at retail, COVID protocols that are being followed. And you'd mentioned earlier on, Lynne, the importance of signage.
Oh, yes.
And maybe to a certain point, deinstitutionalizing signage and making it, I'll let you speak to this, because I think you describe it perfectly.
You know what, Janelle, rather, I just called you Jeanette. I don't even know what.
Many people do.
You know what, I do a lot of secret shopping. And I go in, and I'm, particularly at this time, because I'm doing a lot of talks on COVID related, things that people are interested in. And I was quite surprised to see that a lot of these stores have written or typed 8x10 sheets of a protocol. And it means that your customer is stopping, they're reading, they have to go in closer. That's time consuming. Graphics are instant, they're global, they're universally understood. You were telling me about IKEA, that their signage is graphics. And it's great because you understand immediately what's necessary. I know that I have to wear a mask. I have to stay 2 meters away. I should be washing my hands, use my sanitizer, follow the footprints. I love footprints on a floor of a store rather than seeing masking tape.
Yes.
But these are things that you will have to, again, the retailer will have to purchase or download or whatever. But whatever the graphics are, they can become a part again of your branding, your brand. And I think that they can be so smart and so clever looking. But it's also, I think that if we can talk about some of the safety protocol again, I love the fact that when you go into shoe stores now, they've got it nailed down. You don't try on the samples. You look at them, you can touch them, but you don't try them on. They will go and get your size. If you don't have socks on, they will give you either a plastic bag or they will give you, remember the sockettes and the little socks?
Yes.
They're right back again. So people put them on and then they can try on the shoes.
Sockettes are back in.
They're back. I mean, the fact of the matter is that it now becomes quite obvious that customer service is becoming really necessary again. That close, when I say that close contact, I mean that you are actually asking questions again and getting to know what they're going to do with these shoes. Because sometimes you walk in, you say, do you have these in a 9? And they say, yes. You try them on in a corner and it's the whole transaction's done, but it's changing so much. I will say to you that I noticed that a lot of people will have seating that is cleanable, so it's plastic surfaced. If they've got any kind of upholstery, you should have somebody make you plastic covers for that so that everything can be wiped down. These are things that need to be addressed.
Well, and absolutely. Not only are they law in a lot of municipalities, but it's also the optics. As a consumer, the importance of seeing what's being done around you, not just towards you, but what's being done with other customers, how this business is handling things. Are there clear instructions being given? You know, I gave you the example the other day when what I really appreciate and enjoy is being greeted at the front of the store and receiving clear instructions of what the store is doing for, you know, safety protocol. I took my kids back to school shoe shopping, gave them the full list of what they can and cannot do when they're walking into the store, and the mask stays on at all times and not to touch anything. But we were greeted by a very friendly face who welcomed us and was happy to see us, but then also shared information about, you know, we encourage you to try, and it was a self-serve type kind of retail space. We encourage you to try things on. However, just be mindful, leave the box of the shoes that you tried on at the end of the aisle. And we have someone roaming the store that's going to come by, pick it up, and which is where we go and sanitize them in the back before they're put back into rotation.
I love that.
So hearing that, you automatically know you're going to be safe shopping there. This retailer takes this seriously. This is what they're doing. And then you've got signage across the store. It's the optics. I felt safe. I felt my kids were safe. And I think your staff also needs to feel safe, right?
I think so. I think that, I mean, not every store, if a store is small enough, you might find that there's only one sales staff on at that particular time. but there should be a table when you first walk in with hand sanitizer.
Yes.
If you don't have a mask, somebody says, I forgot my mask or my mask broke. You know what? You should have masks that you can give. It's an expense, but it's a necessary expense. Those hand sanitizer bottles should be around the store. And any graphics should not be coming out, they should be going in. I noticed that some people had signage and we couldn't find it until we looked back. And it was signage on the front windows is not necessarily the way to do it either, Janelle.
Right.
If you want to use graphics, then it can work because then it looks tidier and more professional. But I will say to you that there are things like, I like to see counters wiped down after every transaction. I want to see keypads.
The keypads, yes, yes.
I went to a store the other day and there was a plastic cover over the keypad. And I said to the sales associate, do you clean that? She said, no, because that's not in our protocol. And I went, but we're all touching that keypad. That's the protection, she said. I said, that's not protecting anything other than the keypad. The keypad's not alive. Who cares? So sometimes I feel that the sales staff has to be a little bit more proactive and take things, if it's not in the mandate and you know it's a good thing, do it anyway. I love knowing that when the change rooms are cleaned between each transaction again. But I also like that when you've tried things on and you're only going to take these 3 items, the rest of them are put on a hanger. And so also don't be afraid to say to your customer, if you don't mind hanging those up and put them on the rack outside, they'll be steamed and then they can be put back out again so that your customer knows your intention. And I think that all of these things are very, very important because they make your staff feel better. They make your customer feel better. And you're saying to COVID, you know what? You can throw anything at me. I'm ready for you.
Right, right. It's almost like, and I will compare it to, and I'm, anyone who knows me knows that I live for analogies, but it's almost like taking your child to the doctor and telling them what to expect and telling them this is what's going to happen, or, it's setting the expectations. And I find that I do that with my children, and I find that they're a lot calmer. They're a lot more at ease if they know what they can expect. And that's why I think in kindergarten, when they start them out with the day's calendar and tell them, like, let's look outside. What is it like outside? And here's what we're going to do today. And kind of lay the groundwork for that. I think it's really important at retail. Now, you touched a little, go ahead.
I was going to say, Janelle, I think also though, that everything that is said to a customer, the rules, everything should be said with a smile.
Yes. Very important point, Lynne.
Don't frighten people. Let people know with warmth and sincerity.
Right.
Because I think that that's what customers need right now, is to feel as if whatever experience they're having, it's a good experience, it's an authentic experience. I'm going to return again because that was really good. I love that sales. And
Lynne, you said earlier on an important point is, and I think this segment is really all about adopting COVID into our lives and how we've adopted and how it's changed consumer behavior in the shopping experience, but also to use your signage. We talked about signage, appropriate signage, and how signage should be not only on the outside, but also inside of the retail space. But we've seen some pretty creative marketing surrounding COVID. And I think that that's also important because COVID is here to stay and we're adopting COVID. I think that retailers should seize the opportunity to make this, to make this their, a marketing opportunity. And who knows who might find your signage very clever and post it on social media, and you instantly have
Completely.
free marketing. But these are great examples of what we are able to find.
They're so much fun. I know you love the no mask, no service grow up, Karen. I feel
Yeah.
both feel sorry for anybody whose name is Karen.
I know.
They've got a bit of a bad rap right now, but I feel that these are signs that we're going to see all over the place. But in a store, it would be an opportunity if you want to do something a bit more personal, that's on you know, cardstock or whatever, and maybe there's a daily message, and it's a funny message about COVID, and this again is an opportunity to say, this is part of our marketing. I mean, it's sort of transparent, but it's part of our marketing, because we want you to feel like we're all in the same boat, we're all together, and we can laugh at it sometimes.
Right.
So I think
And
that's fun.
Whether that's done through humor or through a play on words with the sign on the right, you know, practice safe six, the 6 feet apart, masking for a friend. I think that's really cute and clever.
I think it's clever. I love that. I think it's very, very clever. I love the one that you found, wash your hands like you just cut habaneros and have to take your contacts out. Like, it's genius.
And maybe this could be a sign in your washroom, and especially maybe for restaurants, or you know, for your staff, when, you know, just as a friendly reminder, like, hey, we're here working, it's a little unusual, it might not be that much fun, but let's laugh about it.
Yes, yes.
And then also using, you know, seasonal opportunities, the sign on the right, I think that. Right, with Halloween coming up, and it talks about masking and also social distancing, using obviously Jason and a witch, zombies,
yes,
and
I know, it's so fun, it's so great. And
but we need to have fun with it, right?
Well, I think, I wonder if it would, you know, I think these graphics are so fun, and they're not as severe. They're just you know, kicking COVID in the bum a little bit, and with a bit of a smile or a chuckle. And I think that these are good, and I think your customers will really appreciate them. But I also think you just said something about seasonal, and I love the idea of thinking that Halloween is not that far away, Thanksgiving is not that far away, and making sure that even with your signage, with maybe, you know, a fun little hat or whatever, to say, I know that kids aren't really going out and they're not canvassing this year, but we just wanted to let you know that we know that it's Halloween and we celebrate it. Like, just keeping abreast of what's going on and letting customers know that you're with them for the long haul.
Right. And we're all adopting COVID together, right?
Yes, it's sort of like an unwanted cousin that you didn't know you had, and there it is.
Everyone's cringing, but you gotta try to make the best of it, correct?
Yes.
I love that. I think that's so funny. Now, let's talk, you know, we've talked a lot about feelings and signage and what's happening at retail. Let's talk about product. Let's talk about what is the consumer looking for these days. COVID dressing is what we talked about, right?
COVID dressing, yes. So I was saying to you this morning when we had a quick chat that I noticed that on my email, I must have had 15 ads from stores that I have given my email address to, saying, it's cold out there, it's sweater weather, hoodies would feel really good right now, you know, a number of different things. So I think that in itself is essential. You've got to know. I've never been like this before, but I watch the weather. I look at the weather on my phone all the time now. And I look at the you know, that far-reaching forecast, that long-range forecast. This is the perfect opportunity for retailers to actually go at it strong. What are people doing right now? They're outside more. They're saying, I'm going to spend as much time as I can outside, because once it snows and it's slippery and it's cold, I'm not going to want to go out. So I'm going for more walks. I'm taking my dog out 4 times a day. My dog thinks that they want me to leave home because they'd like to sleep in the afternoon rather than walk. I'm visiting friends in their backyards. We're planning a Thanksgiving dinner, and everybody's going to be outside, and they better be dressed warmly, because they're not going to come into our homes other than to use the washroom. So that's what we're looking for we are doing Zoom chats with whether it's our customers or I'm a lawyer, I'm a whatever, I'm going into the office, I have to be dressed appropriately, but everybody is looking for something that is a comfortable solution to that, because the formal suit and tie and formal dress and jacket is not really, it's not what we need.
Right. It isn't. So when we were working together, and I was really delighted to see how we were pulling together, images and what consumers are shopping for, and how fashion is being influenced by the times that we're living right now. Loved this ensemble of images, because classy comfort is what we called it. I'll let you talk about that, but this is my dream capsule wardrobe in one shot.
I bet you that this is a dream capsule wardrobe for a lot of women, because they say, well, I generally wore dresses and jackets and cardigans, and I look at this and I go, she looks fantastic, but that looks like a comfortable dress and a comfortable cardigan. I never thought to do that. But it's an ensemble, but it's great. I never thought to do, a sweater and pant look together. I haven't seen that in a long time. All the knits and the sort of pairing of knits together is huge. It's sensible, but it's a huge trend, because designers have caught on to it and buyers have caught on to it. And my favorite is the girl to the right. That whole really almost semi-structured sweat top and knit pant ensemble. That is the easiest thing for a retailer to sell to somebody, because it's very flattering. It's an ankle length pant. It's, it can be in any color that your consumer might like to buy, but you can say to a consumer who's trying that on, a client, a customer, and say, I'm going to show you how many different ways you can wear this. You could wear a white shirt underneath this, so that the shirt peeks out at the bottom and you have a little collar. You could add a vest to this. You could throw on a little faux fur jacket with this. You could smart. Do a great poncho with this.
Smart.
Wow, this is a fantastic way to offer to a customer what they didn't even know they needed. But now they want it, and they want it. They just say, this is the new way I'm gonna shop.
Right. And of course, athletic wear's done a huge comeback. Yes, it sure is.
Yes.
And so athletic comforts have made a huge comeback. Matching tops and pants, athleisure, comfort wear as well. Tell us your perspective on this.
Well, when you look at this, your impression is that you look at the girl in the center and you go, that's very youthful, but it's still really cool. And I think to myself, but you know what? A more mature shopper could wear this. Maybe I would say to them that I want them to go down a size in the pant, so that it's a little slimmer, and it replaces the legging and the sweatpants they've been living in. But so the stripe is elongating. So, because you know what, your sales staff has to learn how to speak to customers and use the right wording. And I think to myself, that hood is great because it makes me feel as if I could put it up. I could again put a vest on top of that. But when you look at the beautiful sweater dressing and the wrapping of gorgeous knitwear, it's elegant, it's sophisticated, but it's also incredibly cozy. And when you look at our couple on the right and you say, wow, Zoe, really, that's the way I want to look, with a longer cardigan, a coatigan, a coat that is unstructured.
A coatigan. I love that term.
So, but I think that now we're looking at, and here's a word for retailers and their staff, unstructured elegance. And
unstructured elegance. Okay.
And then look at the footwear that they're all wearing. They're wearing comfortable shoes, but they look great.
Correct.
They look great.
And part of that, some of us are working from home. Some of us are still going into the office and working, but the office attire also has changed quite a bit. And I love this saying that we came up with: easy sophistication.
Yes, yes. And so instead of saying to a customer, oh, I've got a nice white cotton shirt for you, maybe you've got a fabric that is easy to care for. Maybe it's nylon, maybe it's a little bit wider because she carries something around her tummy or not, but it's still a white shirt. It's just that it's an easier, more comfortable silhouette. I loved the paper bag pant, that beautiful waist that works for a lot of different women. It's still a little trouser, but it's a little wiser. Again, it's a knit and you can tuck things in or not. And then when I saw the blazer, I thought, that's a blazer, but it's a jacket and it's whatever, but it's knit. Again, there's this ease about it. The wider leg pant in a jersey, and then that amazingly cozy, beautiful turtleneck dress that I thought, again, I mean, Janelle, that's, you could be wearing that and you would look phenomenal.
I actually have a dress that's almost identical to this. And that's why I laugh, because, as I was saying earlier on, it's like a capsule of my closet.
Yes.
These images really speak so loudly to me. And I think that having the fact that fashion excites me, COVID, that's my part of embracing COVID. It's through fashion. And I love it because it's unstructured, but yet casually chic.
Yes, yes.
I really like that.
Look at the little shoe. That's little
right.
slide is amazing. But you see, so even the girl in the black pant is wearing a little slide also, but the girl sitting on the stool is wearing a sneaker. I think that, again, this is an opportunity for the sales associate, the retailer, to educate your customer and give them permission to dress like this and to wear shoes with these items. Because some people are so regimented in the way that they have rules and regulations for how I would never wear a pair of jeans. Well, you've never tried on a pair of stretchy jeans before, high-waisted jeans, and they put them on and they go, wow.
They suck you in. I don't know about you, but I love my high-waisted jeans.
I do. I love them. So educating, when we say education, that's what we're talking about, is teaching people about what they're allowed to do. Be an enabler.
And yes, enable and give permission to try something new. I love how you say that, Lynn. So really what it boils down to is really, we were talking about the importance of reinvesting into your time, educating your customer, but educating your staff as well. And the consumer these days, in my opinion, is very well informed, because let's face it, we've all been spending a lot more time online, surfing social media. So therefore we absorb, we educate ourselves through what we're seeing either on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook. And I think we're attaching a lot more importance also to what we're seeing and what we're observing in TV shows and what we're watching on Netflix as well. So how marketing has become even more so important for retailers. I think this is the biggest, most next to product assortment and having the right offering product. I think marketing is key, but marketing can be done in a multitude of different ways. And marketing also contributes to the in-store experience. We were talking about the importance of the amplification of the in-store experience and linking all of the silos together, whether it's through e-commerce and social media and the in-store experience. One is not necessarily more important than the other per se, of course. And I think that if we can start with the in-store experience and maybe move our way through to towards social media, which kind of ties in with e-commerce as well. In-store experience, in my opinion, is almost like curbside shopping, right?
Yes.
If you're shopping for a home, the appeal from the outside, the home, is first impressions. It's your 5 seconds to really make that first impression. And I think for retailers, window dressing has become extremely important. Don't you think so?
I absolutely 100%. It's allowing the customer to know what you have in your store, who you are in the store. It's an attraction. If people are walking by and they see a window that is beautiful or interesting or captivating, they will be drawn to it. So the window for me is an opportunity to draw people in, but also to take wardrobing and make it obvious to your customer. It's taking not just a top and a bottom, but a vest and a coat and a fabulous scarf, and putting outfits together in that window to say, this is aspirational. This is what you could look like. And I think that all the windows that are featured here do exactly that. You cannot help but look at them and admire them. And they tell a story also. It can be a seasonal story. It can be an emotional story. It can be a number of different things. But I think that windows have to be taken advantage of more. I want windows to be more boastful now of what you have to offer to your customer.
Right. And Lynne, one of the most important things with the times that we're currently living, and a testament to that, is to see how much time we are spending, surfing the internet, so surfing social media, or increased time on Netflix or other service providers like that is, and you said it so perfectly, and I love this term, escapism. We're all looking to escape. And I think that beautiful windows and similar to what we see here right now, it really evokes thinking, and it takes us away. It really transports us, right?
But you know what, Janelle, it also does? It says to somebody, oh my gosh, I want that whole look. I want, you can go into the store and say, I love the window. I love the outfit in the window. So there, it can be very specific and very direct, or it can evoke a mood, which, we thought that these were great opportunities to show. I loved the fact that you recognized the store whose window there was of the shoes, and that they were celebrating 60 years in business.
That's right.
Look at what they did with that.
It's eye candy, really. I felt that this was just very original. And yes, Lynne, it is a retailer that my agency works with, which is just a pure coincidence because you fed me the image. So I think that was a great tie-in, and I hope that they're watching today, because I think that'd be fantastic. But also the photo on the left, I find when I first saw it, I think, first of all, it's great because it relates to Christmas and the holiday season that's coming up.
Yes.
but also kind of turns back the clock in time to maybe the earlier decades of the 1900s and reminded me of a Christmas movie too,
Mhm,
which
mhm.
was quite nice. And then of course we've got the image on the right, which ties in obviously to Valentine's Day, but when we were reviewing this together, Lynn, it doesn't take much to create a window, right? Some of these windows can be very eccentric, and retailers might look at this and think, oh boy, like I don't have that kind of budget, but it really is not a question of budget, isn't it?
No, you know what? One could go to the dollar store and find things on strings now, seasonal things. So it could be leaves and it could be flowers. It could be a number of different things. But it's about taking the space and using all of it, the floor and the ceiling also. So things coming down from it are quite magical, like the beautiful little hearts. If anybody is interested in a great windows, Anthropology is somebody that comes to mind for me all the time, because they take things that are everyday items and they make them beautiful. They don't spend tons and tons of money on the actual materials, but the artistry is extraordinary. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think that here's again an opportunity to do something that makes people feel something. I loved that it was raining hearts. Do you know there's something romantic about that? The one in the middle and the one on the left is nostalgic. It made you feel like something. It reminded you of a time that felt really good. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to go that far, but you might think that, I think I will do some swags at the top for Christmas. I think that maybe I will do some leaves on the floor of my window, and two models standing in the leaves. But I will say to you that just putting a t-shirt and a pair of pants on two mannequins is a waste of a window and will do nothing for you at all. So
Right.
that for me is important. But one other thing I just want to remind you about, Janelle, is
Yes.
don't be afraid to cross promote with somebody else. If you don't sell shoes and there's a great shoe store that you know and you enjoy doing business with, put their shoes in with the outfit and do a little signage of where you got the shoes. But it again is teaching people how to put things together.
And I think collaboration is really key as well in all of this too, right? I think that cooperation with other retailers maybe in your area, I think can really help contribute, right?
I love that. I love
Um,
it.
and so we talked about the outside and the window almost, we're talking about how it's your 5 seconds to make that impression, but in-store merchandising is so important as well, correct?
I really believe so. Um, uh, these photographs are obviously taken in stores where there's enough room to sort of back up, but they still give you a very good idea of what one could do. I
Right.
love the fact that somebody took birch logs, and that's actually in a window, and they hung their shoes from the birch logs. And I thought you could change that up weekly. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
difficult thing to do, but it's over, a table or whatever. I do not love the chairs. The
Oh,
chairs
the
are,
chairs. The chairs are such a great idea. I mean, look at how they've
well,
used them to hang the clothing and merchandised on the top.
yes. And though the top could have hats, it could have shoes, it could have whatever you want to do with it. But I thought that it was really charming because they used the runners at the bottom to hang their hangers and show off a particular style of shirt or whatever. And I loved the menswear. I thought
Yes.
I thought that was so good. I was so
I was
impressed with
just
that.
about to lead you in that direction. I think that that's fantastic. It's unbreaking the traditional ways of, you know, don't just dress a mannequin, but find a different way to display your product and merchandise. And there you have it.
Oh,
It's just one full outfit all together in front of you.
I think it's brilliant. The shoes are at the bottom. The socks could be coming out of the pockets. I mean, you could just go on and on and on with that, and it would be fantastic. But I saw a store the other day that really impressed me. The store's called Zach's. It's in Cloverdale Mall. Their windows were very, very pretty, and they had wheat sheets, and it was just a really great full-bodied presentation. But they took that window, and when you went inside, they wardrobed rolling racks with the same items, and they sort of had those items and all the other components that would go with those items. So it looked like someone's closet. And I thought, someone was thinking there. That was good.
Right. Almost like modeling a capsule wardrobe in store, and finding those original ways of merchandising. Now, Lynne, we don't have a whole lot of time left. Very important. I really do feel that we need to at least make mention of this, but e-commerce and social media marketing being so important, and speaking to so many retailers that I personally work with, and some of my colleagues, two of the things that we hear the most from our retailers is, well, I think it's they fear social media because they don't understand it. They don't know what's appropriate, what's not, or they want to perfect what they're posting, and that they don't have time to post. And I don't want to put words in your mouth or lead you into something, but these days, you know, social media, the conversation you and I were having was really about a combination of a number of different things. It's not just about posting a picture of a shoe with a price and hoping the customer would come into the store, but it's about, it's about giving the consumer an eye into their world. It's about educating. It's about, but I'm going to let you take over from here, because I'm really taking all of the ideas, but it's something I feel very passionate about. And you had,
and I think that that's what led me to be more aware of social media once you and I started to talk back months ago. But I think that now more than ever, everybody has to jump on the bandwagon. There's no excuse, and it's certainly not, I don't have time. You will have to work. Everybody's working harder now. They're all working longer. Janelle, that's just the reality of it. It's
sure
shocking.
is mine.
I mean, I go till 11 o'clock at night looking for images, doing. But that's, if you want to work, then that's what you have to do. So it starts as small as, and you're the one that led me to this. So you say to your staff, I want new, I want like outfits put together. I want to have a window done. And recording all those things. This is what I did with this. And you take a photograph of it, maybe with even the customer server with them. And you can post that on Instagram or Facebook and tell people about something that you're really excited about. You might even say, this is my first Instagram post. Hope you like it. Like, you can start small. Do not set a precedent for what it should look like. It's allowing people to get to know you. So you could say, this is are so amazing, and they're here to welcome you when you're ready to come back, or to come back, or thank you for coming back into our store. We appreciate it so much. Look at our new window. We're so proud of it. Taking a picture of it, posting it. Whatever is, you said something that I loved about unpacking boxes with new merchandise and showing your sales associate pulling the things out, so that people get to know what you do, what's behind the curtain.
It's about realism. It's about personification. And if you look at the ones who are doing social media right, there's no perfect way of doing it. It's not a video that you've done 5 takes on. It's now, it's in the moment. And if something exciting is happening, I want to share that with you.
Yes.
Or, oh no, we broke a window,
Yes.
and the shattered pieces everywhere, where there goes that idea.
Absolutely.
And it's also leading into, because we're all people, we are
Yes.
all humans, and we have a life outside of our work too. And a friend and a retailer of mine who I love to work with, and she's great on social media, she posts about her kids leaving the front door open all the time, and this is
Absolutely.
her. And it really creates that bond and that relationship, that link with their customer. So I personally think it's, isn't it, don't you think, Lynne, it's a multi-layer of things,
Oh,
through education, what's happening in the store, but what's happening after hours as well.
exactly. And I think that it's important to say to you, to yourself and to your staff, there cannot be a day that goes by that we don't do this. So it means that all of these things that we do have to take place, but somehow you have to put, how you like to look at your phone and you're either texting well, I don't want you to text anybody anymore. I want you to take that time to take a photograph and post it. I want you to do a new display every day. I want you to change the windows every 3 weeks, not seasonally, like every time something new comes up. Maybe we've got a brand new collection of clothing. Let's do a new window. Don't leave it long. Do it every 2 to 3 weeks. Generally works. You love Thursdays because of that.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's about finding the time. It's not about finding the time, but it's about incorporating the various things throughout your day and making it a social media moment. It's
Yes.
about pulling that in. And Lynne, I think what's really important with this, and you said it best when we were talking about this, you just can't afford not to have the time anymore. And if you're not finding the time to make this a priority and to make this happen for your business, you're most likely, what did you tell me? You're most likely spending your time doing other things that are no longer
Doing
useful,
things
correct?
that are absolutely unnecessary. That was then, and this is now. And
Mm-hmm.
I was never really a believer in social media. I mean, I am one of the dinosaurs that say, oh, I just want to be able to talk to somebody on the phone. You know what? I've changed. I want to get things out there and let people know what's going on. When I see something great in a store, I love to post it because I want people to know that they can find something like that. Or if I see a beautiful window or a beautiful dog, it's just whatever I find that's great, I like to let people know about it. This is an opportunity for you to let your customers know that you're doing private consultations or private shopping appointments on a Friday afternoon between 1 and 4. Book your appointments in increments of 45 minutes. We've brought on extra staff. A possibility of saying we're doing 20% off this Friday between 9 or 10 and noon. Hope you can be there. We're having a special on something on Saturday. Let people know whenever the idea hits you, do something about it. Don't wait and procrastinate. Do it immediately, and it will work.
It's mostly also in part spontaneity. There's a certain spontaneity that needs to happen with social media, correct?
Yes.
And one of just on a last little tidbit and last note, one of the things that I found very interesting, and what I found, if I look at retailers that I believe are doing social media well or utilizing social media to the best of their ability, it is also important to involve your staff and do maybe a social media takeover and have your staff
I love
contribute
that.
to that.
I love
It's
that.
not just about you, but it's engagement. It'll, your customer will feel that, right?
Well, even to the point where you get somebody to put on an outfit and you've added some things and you think you look so fantastic. Do you mind if I take your photograph? Would you mind if I put it on Instagram?
Ah,
You look
yes,
so
good
beautiful.
idea.
So maybe they post it themselves and you post it. That's the tentacles going out there.
And then if your customer even gives you the permission to tag them in the picture, all of a sudden everyone they're friends with are going to be seeing that. So one ties into the other, and it's all to contribute to the amplified retail experience these days, from e-commerce to social media to in-store, and how this is happening. Lynne, we are well over our time.
Oh!
We could keep talking for days and days and days. And I look forward to having you on again, perhaps on one of our upcoming webinars. Thank you so much for your insightful education about retail and fashion. I really love our conversation, and I really am looking forward to having you back.
Thank you. I love our conversations too, and I wish everybody well. I really, really wish the best for you all. I hope that that some of your questions were answered today, and a special to you, Janelle. Love you lots.
Thank you, Lynne. Be well. Be
Thank you.